How do you get rid of that thing?
I don't know. All right. So we're just now just doing a little, I don't know if you'd call it a Bible study or just a little lesson. But we're going to actually see tonight
If it actually works.
if it actually works tonight, because the other night it didn't work. It sounded really muffled. I don't know what it was doing. So we're just going to do a little live video, not much tonight. But we was talking about discipleship, and I've got this phone I'm trying to hold. And see if I can set it down real quick. All right. So we was thinking about discipleship, and there's not as much of that going on anymore. There's just a lot of stuff we've been thinking about here lately, but discipleship's not being taught anymore, and that's why they're so prevalent of a falling away in churches nowadays, and in Christians nowadays. There's no real true commitment to being a Christian, and I think that's why you get it now. Is when Paul and Timothy were together, Paul and Silas were together. They were they were communicating. They were helping each other out. And now you don't have that anymore. And it's a lot easier to just walk away from something if you don't have somebody else there helping you out. And I think that's what we're seeing a lot nowadays, and that's why the churches are failing right now. Oh, that's what I was going to do tonight. I was actually going to go over some church statistics real quick. Um, so last week I was saying that that the church statistics have dropped a lot in the last recent years. So I can't remember where that was that I found this at the other day, uh, but it was very alarming uh, in church statistics in the last little bit. I can't remember exactly where I was.
One of the things that we've seen in churches nowadays is that a lot of people, they go to church and they have questions, or they feel like God's telling them something, or leading them a certain way, but they don't want to speak out because we're taught to go to church, be quiet, listen to the preacher, and then go home. And one of the things that we really hope and pray that this channel, that you guys really truly understand and believe, is that we are a team. It's not just about getting on and listening to one person preaching a message and then never talking about it. But we really want everybody to know that we are a community, and we're doing this together. And if you have something that you like, a question, please feel free to ask. Or maybe you have a word, you have a message. Please, let us know, because it's not just about listening to us speak. It's about communicating. And one of the things that we were talking about it's been probably a year ago or so, is about discipleship and some other things. But we were like, what does that even look like? We have no idea. And we don't know what that's supposed to look like. But when you read scripture, and when you see at least the church in America today, it's not lining up. So uh, there's a lot of good. But at the same time, we're missing out, I think, on a lot. And part of it is fellowship and discipleship.
Yeah,
But
I'd say the number one thing is I mean the fellowship stops at the church right now, in church, and it don't go out from there, and it hadn't for many years. Actually, before we was even alive. So it's been going on for a long time, and without fellowshipping outside of church and staying together, as the body of Christ, we're supposed to be together, and there's so much division and even backstabbing in same church members. It's just crazy.
Church service.
Yeah, church services. Go ahead, whatever you was gonna say.
No, I think that was about it. It's just, please just know, um, we just want everybody to feel comfortable and to know that we want to hear what you have to say. It's not, like I said, it's not just about us speaking because we want you to listen to us. No, because you guys have good words. You guys have, God talks to you just as much as he talks to us, or just as much as he talks to anybody, as long as you seek him, um, and you listen. And so we really hope that you guys, through this channel, just, I don't know, learn what we all learn, because we're still seeking it too.
Oh, yeah.
What does true fellowship and true discipleship even look like?
Yep. Well, I got some of these church statistics here. That sun's bright. Oh, here we go. Some of these church statistics here are. It says this number one deal. This is just this is a church statistic deal on the internet. It says non-practicing Christians are on the rise, and that hit me off guard when it said non-practicing Christians are on the rise, and I thought, what in the world does that even mean? How are you a Christian if you're non-practicing? And it says often you hear statistics about low church attendance. Naturally, you might associate attendance numbers with how many Christians there actually are. However, that's not always the case. And it says in Barna Group study about how Americans relate to Christianity, the number of non-practicing Christians is rising, while the number of practicing Christians is declining. Non-practicing Christians have grown from 35 to 43% from 2000 to 2020. During the same time, practicing Christians declined 45 to 25%. Non-Christians or agnostic rose 20 to 32%. So what that says to me is these people that are claiming to be Christians but not actually doing anything, not doing the
is non-practicing meaning like just not going to church, or what?
I guess that's what they're entitling it, is not going to church, but to be considered non-Christian or non-practicing, it just kind of sounded weird to me that it was labeled that way. You're either practicing or you're not. You're not. There's no way that you just are.
I'm Christian, but I'm not going to tell anybody about Jesus.
Then you would be a non-practicing Christian. So, so that was weird. Regular church attendance declines. It went. This was crazy. Church attendance had declined from 45% in 1993 to 29% in 2020. This actually, in 2020, it was an increase from 2017, which was 27%. So that, so people could say, oh, there's no audio. I don't know what's going on with this thing. Let's see here. Can anybody hear us?
Oh, I can hear him.
So, I don't know. So some people are having problems with this, and others aren't. I don't know what's going on.
We're learning this technology stuff. We're not technology people. Sorry.
So it's crazy that it went from 45 to 27 or to 29% in 2020. But a lot of people said that the reason why church attendance dropped was because of COVID, and this proves that it was dropped before COVID. So prayer is still important. There's many people think prayer is still important, but it said it found 69% of Christians had prayed within the last week. This is only a small decline from 83 in 96. The number has actually stayed fairly steady for the last 8 years.
Hmm.
So, so the thing is people still believe that prayer works.
Yeah.
I guess people are still admitting that prayer is good. It works, which is awesome. And, uh, you know, but still yet, if you're non-practicing, it's hard to, I don't know. Church attendance by generation. So it says for the 4 older generations, elders, boomers, Gen X, and millennials, it rose between 2009 and 2012. It's declined going into 2018 and beyond. So, and you could kind of see that. That was when a lot of these real big mega churches come out in them years. I believe in 2009, 2012, these huge mega churches, this, what do you call it? There's a,
Prosperity?
not really a prosperity. What do they call it? It's almost like an apostolic, but not.
Oh,
It's what is it?
um, oh, like
Uh,
where they're just really not hyper, but
Basically, I mean,
yeah.
uh,
Do you guys
I'll
know
think I'll think of it here in a minute.
what's this new movement?
Um, yeah, I can't think of it. Not Pentecostal or apostolic. It's something of the sort. But there was a bunch of that happened in '09 era and on and roundabouts in them time periods.
Charismatic.
Charismatic movement. That's it. Thank you. The charismatic movement. Don't know why I couldn't think of that. And that's I think that right there. Same thing. There's a lot of that kind of stuff going on that people jump into it and they're on fire for a little bit, but then that fire ends because there's no newness. There's nothing.
And there's not the
There's nothing
foundation
else.
of Christ.
Yeah. It's just built on all emotion, and we can't have a relationship with God just built on nothing but emotion. Especially our church relationship with others, we can't just have it based on nothing but emotion.
Yeah.
So that's why I believe that the decline is happening right now is because people are getting out of that. They're pulling away.
Exciting.
Well, and they're not seeing anything from it. Maybe they're seeing a hyped up movement,
Oh yeah. Where's the
but
fruit?
then it's just dying out. And they go home, you know, you can go to church and you can scream and shout and have a happy time, but when you leave the building, are you that person or are you somebody totally different? And
Like
that's
30
what
seconds later.
that's what you're seeing a lot in these movements, and that's why they're dying out. Um, it says elders and oldest tract generation, or elders the oldest tract generation by Barna is still the most active, with 37% attending weekly. Millennials bringing up the rear with just 25%. Um, man, that's really sad. That I mean, it's going south real quick. Tithing numbers are still low. It says that 50% give up to 2%. While it might not seem like much, those small amounts add up. Um, Only 5% of churchgoers gave 10% or more of their annual income to church or any other charity. I know if I've ever talked about tithing. So Jesus spoke, not he did speak on tithing, but there's so many verses that get misinterpreted by tithing, and I believe that we need to give of what we have to give, and with love in that giving, instead of just giving our regular 10%. Let's say you make $500 a week, and your dues are $50 a week. Right? 10% is 50. So $50 a week, and if I'm just grabbing out $50 out of my billfold every week, throwing in the plate, is that actually, am I sitting there and saying, God, take this money or use it to benefit your kingdom, use it to benefit somebody, use it for this group to go out and to do something with it specifically for you. But a lot of people, I think it's more so I'm just giving my 10% or 5% or whatever it is,
just routine,
just because that is what I've been told to do my whole life. And there's no uh, when Jesus came, he changed a lot of stuff from what they did in the Old Testament, simply because instead of just saying, okay, here's the money and give it because that's what you got, or give it an animal, bring in your first fruits to sacrifice and to give up, he took it a little farther than that, which your first fruits would have been your very best. But he took it farther than that, and he said, hey, I want more. I want what's from your heart, not what you can give physically. Yes, he did say if a person is without clothes, give them your clothes and stuff. But in that, when he spoke of what who we truly are, it's what's deep within us in our heart. And if we, it says if we say raka to our brother, or if we say, we hate somebody, we basically killed them. And in our heart, uh, if we lust after somebody, we've already committed fornication. So, or adulterous. And I think, like I said, Jesus just took it a step more, and I believe he did the same thing with tithing in that way. When he was asked by the Pharisees and the people, they was questioning him about, or and his disciples about this money, about the who do we pay our tithes, or who do we pay our taxes to? And he said, well, let me see the coin. And he said, whose inscription is this on the coin? Whose picture, basically, is this on this coin? And when they said Caesar, he says, well, give Caesar what Caesar is owed, or what he's due, and give God what God is due. Now, that doesn't mean that we're supposed to give God 10% or anything of money. What that means is from our heart.
he wants your heart.
God don't need our money. Now, if we want to help out, and if and we give offerings, we give, but more so we give out of, we are praying this goes to a something that is going to profit off of this, that is going to profit godly, yeah, and not just, I hope this grows the Baptist Association this month. And that is what's being done a lot, is they're growing associations instead of growing the kingdom.
Not just the Baptist.
No, not just Baptist. I'm not knocking Baptist. I'm just throwing one out there that's popular, and that's no, it could be any denomination.
And I know, I don't know, I might make some people mad, but when you're tithing and you're like, okay, well, I've got to give my 10%. It's just routine. There's no heart in it. A lot of times, not every time, but a lot of times, it's going to pay for sound systems and stuff like that. And is Jesus more concerned with our sound system, or is he more concerned with maybe there's a homeless person on the road who needs a Bible, or or just to drink a water,
just to be told about who Jesus is.
And so, if God lays on your heart to do something, don't, I don't know. I think some people get hindered by that because they're like, well, I already gave my 10%. No, God's going to lay something on your heart. You got to listen. But that's actually when you follow through and you're obedient, that's actually coming from your heart. And that's what I think God, or what Jesus was saying, is give God what's God's, and our heart is God's.
Our heart. Yep. Yep. I believe that's exactly what Jesus meant by that. we can't outgive God.
No.
You know, we're not gonna do something out of our own that's gonna benefit other than if He's in it. And number 7 here on this. Hold on, I skipped one or two. One there. Number 6 says faith remained strong during COVID. I think a lot of people, their faith either grew or it declined. I mean, I can see that clearly, that people's faith either grew or it declined.
But I also see too the whole charismatic thing in it as well, because there for a while there was a hype, and I remember there was a group that was started after COVID, and it was like a fellowship support group, and I remember going to Randy and I was like, oh man, I'm so excited because there's all these people banding together, and within like maybe 2 months, it was in no time at all.
Yep.
Nobody was commenting, nobody was posting, there was no fellowship, there was no, I mean, it just completely died. I mean, within like 2 months, everything just fell away, and it was so sad. So, I mean, yeah, there was a brief increase, a brief, of that, but then it was a very quick decrease.
Okay, now this one here, it says this was done in 2021, so it was done a year ago. This one here, it would make sense. It says live streaming leads to growth. Okay, that was true, I believe, in 2021. I mean, that was a growth from not very many churches had live streaming.
Oh, yeah.
To all of a sudden they jumped on board. Every one of them has live streaming because they wasn't going to service, so they had live streaming, or people didn't go, so they offered that for them. And I mean, that was a no-brainer that was going to pick up. I think in the next couple years here, you're going to see the statistics say that is dropped.
Yeah.
Well, and that's another thing is, I mean, now if you're bedridden or something, then that would be awesome to be able to watch your pastor, online.
Yeah.
That'd be awesome. But I think that's going to drop off here for too long. I don't know. Maybe it already has this year. But
that goes back to the whole fellowship thing, where it's just, if I want to go online and listen to somebody speak, there's no connection, and there's nothing that's really holding me to continue watching them. That's why we want to interact.
That's why we need to be in fellowship, yeah. We need to be in church. Number 8 here. It says sermons matter most. The Gallup poll found that the deciding factor was to whether someone attends church or not is the sermon content. I truly believe that 100%, because if you're saying something, I mean, vice versa, if you're talking to a crowd that wants true correction and they want to hear that and be led in that way, then you will have that kind of crowd. But if you're not, let's say, the people that don't want true correction are going to leave that environment.
Yeah.
Because they're not going to want it. And the same likewise is if you're spreading a whole bunch of misinformation, then you're going to have that crowd. So yeah, I believe, I mean, I would assume that poll would have been there for years, but it says community matters too. Community outreach and volunteer opportunities, 59%. Social activities, 49%. Spiritual programs and kids and teens, 64%. It says this poll found that the community programs, both for members and non-members, were incredibly important when choosing a church. So people are choosing a church based upon what they offer, is what this thing's saying. Which I agree. That's a lot of what people are doing right now in churches, looking for what this church can do for my kids, or what can they do for me, maybe physically, maybe I don't know. It says live streaming increases online tithing. There again, we talked over that. That is going to boost for a while because this is a new thing. It's not going to be very long until we see a decline in that, because that's just what it's going to do. Online attendance is higher than in person. That was really crazy to me to think that there's more people that get on Facebook and on YouTube than actually go to church. Now, here we are. It's a Sunday evening, and we've been doing this, and hoping that we can make an outreach program to reach more people than just what could be in our specific area. Uh, and it might take a long time to grow, but at least we're stepping out in something else, and hopefully this turns into maybe building off of this, maybe building a discipleship kind of church program or something. But as far as now, we're just seeing where it goes. I've been filling in at a church recently in the last few weeks, so we do go to church. It's not like we just abandon church altogether. We go to church. We don't go Sunday evenings since we've been doing this. So we take some time out of our Sunday evenings to come on here and to share.
So don't think don't think we want you guys to just
No,
relax,
don't
get comfortable, and not. Yeah.
don't get comfortable with just standing home. We also know that church is declining, but the true church will stick together.
Yeah.
And that's basically what we're trying to convey here in the set apart ministry. Is we're trying to say, okay, church attendance is dropping, and this is the statistics, and it's showing that it's dropping. People right now are paying more attention to what's going on online than what's happening in the church buildings, and which is awesome in one aspect. You're getting out and you're getting more around. You can see more, you can get more out vocally to everybody. But in the same thing is you're not fellowshipping together. Most people you don't even know online. So there's no actual uh, body there. There's no family, and we need to be a family. So that's what we're trying to establish, going into more, and that'll be later on. But we're just kind of doing these openings to just kind of get started off. Anyways, keep going on here. So online attendance is higher than actual in person, which like I said, it's a new thing. It's probably going to be. Uh, um, says hybrid church services could be the new norm. I guess like they've been doing right now with part live and at church too. So like, you know, I could see that somewhat, but I still see a decline in that. I don't know, at what time. Like I said, this was done in 2021, so I bet there's already a decline in that. Yeah. I really do. It don't take people very long to. Once you stop something, I stopped church when I was probably 17, 18, I don't know. I stopped going to church, and it was so easy to come up with some reason why I didn't need to go back to church. It was like, well, I'm actually doing something else tomorrow. I've already filled that time, and that's the same thing that happened. So when the pandemic pushed people out of church, they was, I'll watch it online, and I still think a lot of people are probably still watching online. Not saying they didn't, especially people that elderly stuff that couldn't or didn't want to get out. They're still watching it online. But as far as it goes, I think that there'll be a big decline because there's nothing forcing you. Uh, there's no true motivation in it to get you up and going, and I think
there's no accountability.
No. Who knows? I mean, yeah, you can see who's watching sometimes on like Facebook Live. I guess you can see what person's watching you, but there's really there's no accountability. So says members are somewhat confident churches are safe, and that is I was like, what in the world? So there's actually people out there that think when you go to church, you're likely not safe, or sometimes you're not safe, is what it's conveying to me because of this somewhat confident. So they're not all the way confident of the safety. Um, Man, it seems to me that if you're in church, you feel the safest. I would assume, but apparently, I
Yeah.
mean, a lot of big cities and stuff. I mean, there's no telling anymore. You don't know,
Well, then when you have
but
those really big churches that where you don't know
yeah,
anybody,
yeah. I don't know. I mean,
you don't know who you're sitting next to.
normally in the country, we know each other pretty well. That when we go to church, it's pretty comfortable and it's very
Yeah.
very safe.
Yes.
17 Christians experiment with different churches. Since so many churches opted for live streaming during the pandemic, Christians took advantage to check out other churches. In fact, the Pew study showed 42% watch services from other churches than their own. The same percentage of Catholics did the same. Um, I I don't know what else to say on that, other than I don't think it's bad to look into other churches, to
No.
go to other churches and fellowship. I don't believe that's bad at all. Good good study.
As long as
Uh,
as long as you're looking for God's word.
yeah,
But now
yeah,
if you're
not
just
just looking
going because
you to be satisfied.
yeah, well, that person made me mad last week, so I'm gonna find a different church.
Yeah. Members are happy with live streaming. It says 91% were satisfied with their live streaming. Um, It's so funny because I've skipped a few of these. I'm on 19 and I've skipped a few of them because they're kind of repetitive and a lot of them are about tithing.
Really?
Yeah, so more and less tithing among regular viewers. It's so unbelievable that that's a lot of what you see. It's
It's weird that they
disgusting.
even have statistics on that because
Yeah, who
if you're
cares?
if you're giving from your heart, how do they even
How do
know
they
who's
know? Yeah.
yeah.
Uh, Increased in hybrid services. Social media, valuable tool during the pandemic. I agree to an extent. I do.
Hmm.
But after a certain extent, I think that it's time to then
Get
proceed
back.
and on. It's like Paul wrote to him. He said, You've tasted of the sincere milk.
Hmm.
Now let's go on into the meat."
Hmm.
And 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 that's what nobody wants to do. It's like I've tasted in this sincere milk, and now I want to taste in some more sincere milk. I
Yeah,
don't
that
ever
was
want
pretty
to
good.
progress. Says income is a top issue facing churches. I believe that. I really do. I mean, you see these churches; they're huge right now,
Oh,
and
bills.
and they've just lost a
Yeah.
percent, quite a bit of their church congregation and their membership. And that's where they're getting their money from. I believe that is so uh, to the point of why a church shouldn't go in debt.
Hmm.
I mean, how many times did the Bible say it's better to be the lender than the
Hmm.
borrower? And yet we've got churches out there that are taking out so much money
Lots
and
of
getting
money.
involved in so many government things,
Hmm.
and that's not what they need to be doing. That's
That's
why they
scary.
are. I mean, that's why they're going downhill in this way. Uh, yeah, income shouldn't be a top issue. If you're relying upon God, then income won't be a top issue in this.
Mm-mm.
Anyways, I'm keep going. Uh, Church unity has been a problem during the pandemic. Um, and it basically said found that 73% of churches say leaders agree on these different strategies. However, their members weren't agreeable. In-person gatherings dropped to 34%. Uh, Worship style 13%. These people didn't like anything going on with their churches during the pandemic. Sadly, only 9% of churches said they didn't have any divisiveness within their church. 9% of churches said they didn't have any divisiveness. 9% of churches said that when they was all through the pandemic, or I guess we're still in, I don't know. Anyways, since they was coming through this pandemic, they said 9% of churches. That's literally nothing. There has been so many uproars over this pandemic in churches when, whatever your views are, um, you have your views on this certain subject. I've got my views on this certain subject, but it doesn't need to cause a division, and that's what it was. I think a lot of that's
and that goes.
what they.
I mean, that goes even further though too into like all this man-made structure.
Yeah.
I mean, I may not agree with everybody else in like the congregation or vice versa, but if I feel strongly and after praying, hey, I really feel like we need to be doing this, but Randy's like, I don't think we need to be doing that at all. We could still pray together and say, well, what should we be doing? Because if I feel so strongly that God, not what I want to do, but what I feel like God's wanting, and He's something different, well, then what God is doing is He's saying, I want you to be reaching these people because you can't. And I want you to be reaching these people because they can't. And so there shouldn't be this division. It should just be more reason to pray together and seek opportunities.
So that's what we should be doing so there's certain people that I can convey a message to that somebody else might not be able to. And God leads them in my specific way.
And as long as we can do a live stream video with volume, we can reach a couple people.
I was thinking about something as you were saying that. No, that's all right. I can't remember. There was a person I was thinking about, and now I just can't think of what it was that I was going to say. Anyways, so tonight, just encourage everybody to, I guess end on that is we've all got our own people to help out in any different ways, many different ways. Oh, that's what I was going to say. So there was a guy that we've been watching for the last 4 years, probably 5, I don't know. And when this pandemic started in 2020, early 2020, this guy said, "This is awesome. The churches are actually shutting down, and we can actually get outside the churches and go witness to other people." And I thought, that is awesome. I mean, that's really a good way to think about it, because when we're all in church, we get comfortable with it. We got comfortable, and that's all you want to do. Go to church on Sunday and go home on Sunday evening and go to bed, and then you're done with church until next Sunday or Wednesday or whichever day you might could go. But after that, you're not the body of Christ anymore. You're just out in the world. And this guy made total sense of that, is saying that it was so awesome and such an amazing deal. But he said, the thing that I worry about the most is when all this is done and we go back to church, it's going to be less, and there's going to be basically you will be back in the same old rut. And look around and see, and if that was not what happened, I mean, there was a lot of big revivals and stuff taking place in huge cities during this pandemic, and people were going out and getting baptized, set free, and delivered, and what an amazing deal. And then all of a sudden, churches opened back up, and that shut down everything. It was like the people didn't want to do that no more. I just want to go to church, sit in there, do what my study, and it killed the church.
Or it's continuing to kill.
And it's continuing to kill the church today. So, anyways, we'll end with that tonight. Have a blessed week.
Do you guys have anything?
Got any thing, you can type on there. You want to see anything, you want to do a study on something, just, comment on this video. Tell us something. Speak to us and tell us what
We
you
also started a Facebook page, I guess, a group. It's called Set Apart. And our oldest son, drew pictures of like these stick figures. But there was, so I don't know how to explain it. But anyways, there's just stick figures and they're all like in one color. And then there's two stick figures in the middle, and they're set apart from the others. You'll see
They're
it.
different colors.
So they're different colors. And so, but if you want to join any kind of Bible studies on there as well, or if you know of anybody who wants to do a study but they don't do this whole YouTube thing, maybe hook them up over there, because we do want to start doing Bible studies with everybody, whether it be here, on there. Oh, God bless you too. But yeah, so just go check it out on Facebook. It's called Set Apart, and you'll see us at Dalton Gang Off Grid on there. And so that's how you know it's the right group. But we'll do Bible studies on there as well, and we just really want to open the doors for fellowship. So
encourage more people.
Yeah.
Yep, to participate. Go up. All right. Well, thank y'all. And like I said, have a blessed week, and maybe witness to somebody this week if you get the opportunity.
And then testify about it.
Yeah, testify this weekend. Have a good one. Whoops.